everyone. I am back for another Facebook Live this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry, my husband was texting me, so I'll deal with that later. But thank you so much for joining me. I am Ruth Norton. I am a demonstrator in Albuquerque, New Mexico in the United States, and I am very happy you're joining me today. We're just going to get a couple of business things out of the way. Don't forget, if you want next month's paper pumpkin, it's going to be 24 over-the-top tags. Winter Wonders Part 2. It coordinates. Oh, let me see if I can get mine without making an avalanche fall. It coordinates with this month's October's Paper Pumpkin Winter Wonders Part 1. And in this one, there were supplies to make 10 of these beautiful cards. Aren't they beautiful? Oh, I just love it. So November's kit will coordinate with this one, and it'll make 24 Christmas tags. So make sure you are subscribed by November 10th if you want Winter Wonders Part 2. Okay, let me find a place to put that. For those of you that joined me on my Facebook Live on Monday, and I shared that Disney countdown calendar, that is going up on my blog next week, I think. I haven't planned it. I gotta take pictures of it. It's a big thing. But we actually started the countdown with the kids. This is actually day 2. And neither of them have guessed it. But my first couple clues were not real, like, Disney related. Yesterday's clue is just like, we have a family adventure coming up kind of clue, which actually made my son very angry because he's now angry that he has to wait 25 days. So he's pretty angry. My daughter she has interest in it, but not enough interest to really care a lot right now. Today's clue was a giraffe, a little picture of a giraffe. And so my son now thinks we're going to Africa. So we'll see. We'll see how long it takes them to guess it. Also happening in the Stampin' Up! World, I don't know how I got so distracted, but also happening in the Stampin' Up! World, the Christmas Time is Here Sweet is coming soon. This is coming next week on Friday, November 1st. You can order these products next week. If you're a demonstrator, you can get them now. If you want them now and you're not a demonstrator, you can join my team and add them to your starter kit. Also coming next week, November 1st, the new trimmer. You can pre-order that as well. You can also put that trimmer in your starter kit as well. Okay, I think that's all the business news. Not a lot going on. Yesterday was our big 15% off flash sale. I hope you guys participated in that. Thank you to those who did order. I hope you guys love your stuff. My order has already shipped, so I'm super excited. This is the gorgeous card we're making today. Can you guys see that? Like, this is just all ink blended. It's so beautiful, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. It's so beautiful. So we're actually going to get to this part first because this needs to dry quite a bit, and we may have to use our heat tool to aid in that drying. So we'll see. I'm going to pull out some scrap paper to ink blend on just so I don't get it everywhere. And I have a piece of Shimmer White cardstock that is 2 by 5, and we'll trim this down a little bit, but it's better to start bigger than try to go smaller. Or better to start bigger and make it smaller than to start too small because you can't make it bigger. So 2 by 5 is what I have, and colors I'm using are Night of Navy, Flirty Flamingo, and Balmy Blue. And I have some, let me put them in the order I'm going to use them. I'm going to put them a little bit off to the side so you guys can see what I'm doing. I have sponge daubers for all of them. I have sponge daubers for all of my colors, and then I have them labeled. You can use our round stamping sponges to cut them up into like 4 or 6 pieces. You can use those as well. I prefer the sponge daubers just because I like the feel of them and I like the blend they give, but you can absolutely use the sponges or any other kind of blending tool that you may have. I'm going to use a piece of Post-it tape just to hold down our piece, and we're going to kind of make like a horizon line. So I'm going to use my grid paper here just to make sure I line the tape up nice and straight, because there's nothing worse than having that. Okay, I think I'm going to go to this line. Okay, clearly I cannot talk and do this at the same time. Okay, so I have my Post-it tape on there. Let me pull this up. I'm going to kind of, which way do I want to do this? think I'll do it this way. So I'm going to turn it kind of at an angle, just so I can ink blend better. We're going to start with the top first. Let me pull in my card so you guys can kind of see what we're going to do. We're going to start with the Flirty Flamingo. And so sponge daubing, ink blending, I never ever wash my ink daubers. So that's why they're labeled. So this one will always be for Balmy Blue. And the more ink that's on there, the better it's going to blend. So you're going to find that maybe my ink blending goes a little bit smoother and quicker than yours would. And that is just because my ink daubers are primed. So if you have a set, and you don't have to necessarily have a set just for Flirty Flamingo, you can have maybe like a pink sponge, and that's used for all your pink colors, and maybe like a blue sponge, and that's used for all your blues, and that's fine too. Just the more ink that's already saturated that sponge, the easier your ink blending is going to go. If you're starting with a brand new sponge dauber or sponge, you're going to find it's going to be very splotchy, but just keep working at it and you'll be able to smooth those lines out. I like to use the Shimmer White cardstock when I ink blend. I like the look of it better on the Shimmer White. Okay, so I'm going to start off on my scrap paper just to get some of that harsh ink off first, and then I'm going to start off of my paper and just kind of go in circular motions all over my cardstock. I'm going right up against that tape line, and I'm not going too far up. I'm going maybe 3/4 to an inch up, and I'm making this pretty dark. Okay, so I'm going to move on to my Balmy Blue. We'll go back and forth between all the colors. I'm going to move to my Balmy Blue, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure this is nice and inked up. I'm going to tap off some of that excess ink, and then I'm going to start off the page and move on to the page. And just keep going back and forth. If you have to get more ink, that's fine. Just tap it off and move on to the page. I'm going to go up a little higher on this. So, and we're going to finish it off with some Night of Navy, so it's going to be real dark on the top. Now I'm going to start to go down into my Flirty Flamingo. And you see I'm moving in a circular motion. That helps the ink blend better in a circular motion. So I'm going down into my Flirty Flamingo. I just want to make sure I get a nice blend between those two colors. You don't want like a harsh line between them. You want a nice little blend. So I think a little more Balmy Blue up here. Okay, now I'm going to go back with my Flirty Flamingo, and I'm going to go back over that line and blend it a little more as well. The more you blend it, the better it's going to look. You're going to end up with a really cool kind of shade of purple. Not like a true purple, but okay, I think that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to move on to my darkest color. I'm going to move on to my Night of Navy. Move that one out of the way. And again, start off the page. There we go. We're gonna make this top really, really dark. Okay, really dark. So really just add in that Night of Navy. Just keep moving. All right, that is looking really good. I'm just gonna bring my Night of Navy down just along the sides, just to deepen up those sides a little bit. Okay, now where that Balmy Blue and that Night of Navy are, I'm gonna go back in with my Balmy Blue. And I'm just going to soften that line just a little bit so it's not so harsh. Perfect. I think that looks pretty good. So that is the top. That's our top. Isn't that gorgeous? Beautiful, like evening glow. Isn't that beautiful? So we're going to peel our tape off. You can see that super clean line we've gotten with our tape. Now I'm going to flip this over. I'm also going to flip my tape over, and I'm going to lay the tape back down right over that line. And then I'm going to put this down, and you'll find that, because we have saturated this paper so much with ink, you'll find that that tape doesn't want to stick. So I'm just going to wrap it around just to make sure that it kind of stays put where I want it to stay put, but it doesn't want to stick too much right here. So we're going to just have to kind of hold that down. But because we're overlapping it with the pink, it's okay if it goes a little bit goes under, we're going to be just fine. So I'm just going to hold that down, and we're going to do the same thing, but I'm not looking for as dark of a color. We're going to go just maybe a shade lighter. And so this one, because I don't want to rub, because I'm going to end up tearing that tape that's not fully stuck down, I'm going to just kind of swipe it up like this. Now, if you wanted that tape to stick completely down, you could wait for it to dry completely, or use your heat tool to get it dry completely. but for the video's sake, we're just going to kind of move on. So I think that's good with that. We're going to move on to our Balmy Blue. We're going to do the same thing. This time I can come in with my circular motions, which gives me a better blend. And we're just going to kind of blend that out. Remember, we don't want this to be too dark. We do want like a distinction between the two, between the top and the bottom, that horizon line. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with my dark Night of Navy. We're going to come up, make that nice and dark. I'm going to go back in with my Balmy Blue, kind of smooth that out a little bit. Perfect. I'm just going to go back in with my, oh, hello. And just kind of smooth that line just a little bit. A little bit more with my Balmy Blue. A little overzealous with that pink. There we are. Perfect. I think that looks pretty good. So let's peel off our tape. I have Flirty Flamingo all over my hand now because I dipped my whole hand in there. So I may have to get a baby wipe. All right. Isn't that beautiful? Don't you love that? That's so beautiful. Okay. I'm going to move some of these ink pads out of the way before we have another disaster. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to stamp our greeting as long as I have my Night of Navy out. So let me move our ink daubers out of the way. Move that out of the way. I just have a scrap of Shimmer White and my stamp. Where's my stamp? Let me tell you the stamp sets we're using too. We didn't even go into that. We just jumped right into the card. These are the two stamp sets that we're using. We're using Snowfront. This is, they're both in the holiday catalog. We're using this tree, this larger tree, and then the two deers. So we're using these from Snowfront. And then we're using this greeting from the Christmas Gleaming Set. So these two are the stamps we're using. I have that greeting right here. And I'm going to have to wash my hands. Look at that, I already got pink on there. So I'm going to make sure this is nice and inked up, and then I'm just going to stamp this down. We're going to end up trimming this out, so don't worry if it's straight or anything. Perfect. Oh, I love that greeting. I love that. How it's, the greeting is white and the little block image is dark. I just love it. Okay, set that aside. We are done with this ink anyway. We are going to come back with some other ink later, but okay, let's hope I don't get Flirty Flamingo everywhere. Okay, well, this sets aside to dry just a little bit. We're going to work on everything else. So I'm going to trim out my greeting, and I'm just leaving a tiny bit of white around the edge. And let me grab I want my big scissors here because I want to be able to do this in one straight cut. I think if I was using my smaller paper snips, it might not go so straight. So we'll see. This might not be, oh, it's looking pretty good. I think I can do it. All right, here we go. Perfect. A beautiful greeting. All right. Love that. Okay. We're going to move back to this piece because we do need to finish up our stamping. So I'm going to actually see how wet this still is. So I have my white embossing powder here, and I'm going to see if anything is sticking to it still. So I'm just going to sprinkle this on, and you can see all that white embossing powder. So you can see how wet this paper still is. So let me grab a paintbrush. I just have a dry paintbrush, and I'm just going to brush all that embossing powder off. And then we're just going to, I'm going to make sure there's no embossing powder on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and heat this. I'm going to do it off to the side. I'm just going to try to dry some of that ink real quick. So we're just drying that ink. We're speeding this along. Now, if you were doing this at home, you could always just set this aside and let it dry completely. But we're just going to try to speed this drying process up a little bit. All right. To the front and the back. This is the ink blending on this card takes a little bit of time, so this is maybe not a card that I would mass produce, but the finished card is so beautiful that I would definitely make this for some special people. Okay, let's give that a try. Let's see how much that is sticking now. So that is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to just wipe some of that off. We're going to use our embossing buddy. Do not forget your embossing buddy at this step. And I'm going to go pretty heavy with it. I'm going to kind of pounce it on there because I do not want any embossing powder to stick except where our ink is. So I'm going to pull out my VersaMark ink. Move that paintbrush out of the way. I'm going to start with my tree. Oh my gosh, there's so much stuff on my desk. I'm going to start with the tree, and I'm just going to stamp that tree right on that line. Let's see if I can do this without getting right under the camera. So we'll see. Pretty good. And then we're going to come in with our deer, and we're going to stamp them right on that line next to the tree. Pretty good. I like that. Okay, so we are going to sprinkle on our embossing powder right over my little container here. Let's go this way. I think I got that deer a little close to that tree, but I think we can fix it. That is a problem. That's the problem with VersaMark. Sometimes you can't see where you're stamping, but that's okay. So I'm just going to take a tiny little paintbrush, and I'm just going to kind of just swipe away some of that ink from that deer's back leg, just so we have a more defined end of the deer and start of the tree. Okay, now down here you can see that that trunk of the tree stamped below that line. So I'm just going to take my big paintbrush, my dry brush, and just swipe away that embossing powder so that everything is on one solid line. So now we are ready to heat emboss. Let me put my lid on my embossing powder so we don't have a catastrophe here. Okay, let me close up my VersaMark, and we're ready to heat emboss. Here we go. Now my heat tool is already pretty warm because we are drying it, so this should go pretty quickly. You can see there it goes. You can see that start to heat. Beautiful. I love heat embossing. It's my favorite. Okay, beautiful. Okay, now we're just gonna trim it down. We're gonna see if we want to trim it down a little bit. This one I did trim down, but I feel like I trimmed it a little too much. But I do want to trim a little bit off the top and the bottom. So I'm gonna start with the bottom. I'm gonna pull in my new paper trimmer here, and I'm just gonna take off maybe like half an inch or so. We're not gonna take off a ton, maybe not even half an inch. Let's start with 1/4 of an inch. And take off a little bit off the bottom, and then we're actually going to, we're going to use the tag topper punch here, and so this is going to take off a little bit off the top too. So we're going to put that in and punch it. Woo, hello. So I think that's pretty good. I really like that. And one more finishing touch for our little tag. We're just going to take our trio punch here, and we're going to round those corners. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, now before we get to the rest of the assembly of the card, I'm going to do one more thing to this and then set it aside to dry again. So let me move everything else out of the way. I have my Frost White Shimmer paint and an Aqua Painter. Give your shimmer paint a good shake up. Okay, I'm going to use my Aqua Painter and pick up some of that shimmer paint just out of the lid. I'm just picking up out of the lid, and then I'm just going to kind of flick this onto my, let me get some out of the bottle, let me get a little bit more. I'm going to flick it onto my tag, there we go. Just for some little snow flurries. This is going to create some beautiful little, woo, hello, that's a big one. Some beautiful little snow flurries on there. Okay, wipe that off. I think that big one's going to be just fine, but we're going to set this aside to dry. That's just going to add a little bit of extra shimmer that's already on that shimmer paper, but it's going to add a little bit of extra shimmer. All right, now I'm going to move the scrap paper out of the way. Okay, shimmer, can you guys see that? I have shimmer paint all over my hand. Holy cow. This is a messy card, you guys. It's all over my desk too. All right, we're going to move on. Here's our card. This is what we're trying to do. And we're going to hope I don't get any ink all over the rest of our card because my hands are messy. All right, we have a Flirty Flamingo card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. I'm going to use my bone folder and give that a nice crease. Okay. Now I'm going to go through the rest of my supplies. I have another piece of shimmer white, which is 3 3/4 by 5, and I've run it through the corrugated folder. You see that? It's so beautiful. I have a piece of Night of Navy, which is how long? This is 5 by, I think, 1. Yeah, this is 5 by 1, also run through the corrugated folder. Now, this is going to be a little bit longer than our card, but we're going to trim it off. So run both of those through the corrugated folder, and I went in opposite directions. So this piece, the lines are going across the long way. And this one, they're also going across the long way, but when we mount them on the card, they're going to be opposite. So the white piece has the horizontal corrugated ones, and then the Night of Navy has the vertical ones, which I think I love that mix of textures. I have a piece of Balmy Blue, which I have run through the Be Mine dies. Just that little scallop stitch border. I just love that scallop stitch border. Holy cow, that's hard to say. And then I just have a piece of our Denim Ribbon that matches that Night of Navy so beautifully. Okay, so let's start assembling. I have my snail. All right, come on. Okay, I am going to start with my Balmy Blue piece, and I'm just going to stitch a snail all the way across there, and then I'm going to put on my Night of Navy corrugated piece, and I'm going right above that stitch line because I want that stitch line to show. I think that adds a lot. All right, we are going to add our other corrugated piece, our white corrugated piece. This is Shimmer White again. Just going to add to the shimmerness of the card, and I'm going to stick that right on my card. Actually, let me do this side. I have some shimmer paint on that side, and I'm just going to make sure that there's a nice border all the way around. And just stick that down. So easy peasy. And then we're going to put some snail on the back of this piece. And we're going to stick that down just a little bit right below center. And hopefully that's nice and straight. Perfect. And now anything that's hanging off, I'm just going to take my scissors and trim off. There we go. You can absolutely cut these to size if you want. I have noticed with the corrugated folder though, it does shrink a little bit, so it's better to cut larger and trim off than to be too short in the end. So, all right, now where did we do with our greeting? Did I lose our greeting? Oh my goodness, where did it go? I can't believe it. Okay, we may have to stamp another one. I don't see it anywhere. It's going to show up as soon as I'm done with the video, I'm sure. Where did I put it? I don't know where it went, you guys. We're going to have to do another one. Let me grab another scrap of Shimmer White. That one's pretty big. Here we are. Okay, we're just going to stamp another one. This is how things happen in my craft room. Things just disappear. It's probably right in front of me. You guys are probably like, it's right there. But I don't know where it went. We're just going to stamp it again, because who knows what happened. Okay, perfect. All right, we have that. Let's trim this out again. Let's get our big scissors. I'm gonna trim this out one more time, and this time we're not gonna lose it. Now, if you were making a bunch of these cards, I would definitely do them assembly line style, meaning do all of your ink blending all at once, do the same color all at once, and then go back and do the next color. And that just makes things go a little bit quicker. And it makes things easier for you too, so you don't have to keep opening and closing stuff and opening and closing stuff. All right, now our big glob of shimmer paint right there is still a little wet, but I am going to, I thought I saw my greeting, but I didn't. So I'm just going to actually take a little scrap and just kind of soak up a little bit of that. Perfect. Now, here's my ribbon. I lost my ribbon too. So we're just going to put this through the top and we're going to tie a bow. Now, I'm going to turn this upside down to tie a bow because for some reason my bows come out better when I tie them upside down. Don't ask me why, but that's why. Now, it took me a couple of tries to get that bow as perfect as it was, so we are going to see how fast I can do this on camera, which is not very quick. So, okay, let's see. Here we go. I'm like all thumbs today. I have a lot going on in my office. I am prepping for a team meeting tonight. We're doing a virtual team meeting tonight, so that's really fun. And then I have multiple class things going on all over my room. I have piles of stuff everywhere, and so it's just a mess. I think my husband hates this time of year when I have so many things going. The office is kind of, the craft room is a mess. Oh, that's pretty good. That was the first try. So let's trim off those ends. Now, if I had done that right side up, it would not have come out as well. So bows, I must tie upside down. If anybody knows why, please let me know what the reasoning for that is. Okay. Perfect. So there's our little bow, and actually trim this one a little more. I don't like how how much I trim that. There we go. That's better. Perfect. Isn't that bow great? I love it. And I did it on camera and everything. All right. We are down to the final assembly of this card. So I'm just going to grab some dimensionals. And of course, we're going to use dimensionals on our tag. So I'm going to put some on here. Now this tag's going to be a little bit bigger because I didn't trim up. I trimmed off more on my sample one than I did on this one. So this one's going to be a little bit bigger, but that's okay. Get off all these dimensionals. Backings. Here we go. And we're going to set this down just right off to the right here. So pretty. I actually like that bigger tag better on there. So you guys can see there's not a big difference, but I like that bigger one better. All right. So we're going to put a little bit of adhesive on the right side of this because it's going to rest on our label. And then I'm going to just use a little bit of my dimensional edge here. I'm going to put that right on the back. And we're going to set this down right on our card here. Actually, let me go a little bit higher right here. So pretty. What do you guys think? That's really crooked. Hang on. Let me try again. There we go. Much better. So beautiful. What do you think of this card? You could always add some rhinestones or pearls maybe. I don't think it needs any other accessories. I think that ink blending is just beautiful as it is. So I'm not going to add anything else, but isn't it so pretty? I just love this card. I love those colors. I love all the sparkle on it. It's so pretty. So if you need to order any supplies, please head to my online store. You can shop using the host code. And if you have any questions, please let me know. If you are watching this on Facebook, please share this with your friends. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. If you have questions, please let me know. Thanks for joining me. Bye.